This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, but Mitch and Paul are heading up to Omaha. Matt Brown and Mike Somich in for them. Do not worry. They will be back in here tomorrow and for the next few days doing special programming from up there in Omaha. Mike, you and I have both had the pleasure of taking in the festivities up there in Omaha. They might be a few Jell-O shots deep already for all we know. I mean, it's a party up there. It's a fun time, and glad that the network is taking in the College World Series.
Yeah, they're going to have a blast. They'll be broadcasting live from Rocco's. We've got that Jell-O shot leaderboard. LSU minus 900 favorite to take that down again this year. They love their Jell-O shots down there in the Bayou, Matt.
It's way too short. I mean, way too long, that number. I mean, that number needs to be minus 9,000. You know, I mean, here's the other thing too. You're going to get all these, now that it has become a competition, right? Like, this was the deal. This was happening before they made it the biggest deal ever, and it started getting picked up amongst networks and all of that out there. When this was just something that was a thing, they still just wanted to win no matter what, even before they were getting pressed. They just wanted to walk by and see it on top of the chalkboard. You know, I mean, that's all it was. And so now the fact that the internet exists, social media exists, you can actually get some pub about this. LSU's going to win by, you ready for this? 2,000 Jell-O shots is my guess.
Ooh,
2,000.
So you'll give me plus 1999 and a half Jell-O shots with the field against LSU?
Because here's the thing. They're going to be in a good mood, Mike, because they're going to go deep in this thing. See, they're going to be in a good mood because they're going deep.
Or they'll lose to Arkansas in the first game. They'll be in a bad mood and want to do a bunch of Jell-O shots.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes both ways here. You're going to hit either way.
Brad Thomas going to talk to us here in a little bit. Going to talk all kinds of sports with him. You can see his work over at NBC Sports Bet. Jonathan Davis, our very own hockey contributor, going to sit here and talk the finals with us. And then Matt Youmans, also our very own Matt Youmans, going to join us a little bit later. I'm sure we can get a little bit of everything out of Matt Youmans, seeing if he's going to be betting any of the short shots over there at the U.S. Open and get his thoughts on the finals as well. But Mike, as we get going here, we do have a couple of first pitches, so need to get to those as the A's and the Angels are going here momentarily. J.P. Sears and Kyle Hendricks. I actually made a play in this one that I didn't think that I was going to be playing, and it's going with a guy that doesn't actually strike out a lot of guys, and that is Kyle Hendricks. I went with the over 4.5 Ks at plus 128, so the over 3.5 had gotten incredibly too juicy, so I'm just going to play the alt number here at the over 4.5 Ks for him. This A's team, I know we have talked about how terrible the Rockies are. This A's team here of late, Mike, has been ridiculously bad. And guess who, over the last 2 weeks, leads Major League Baseball in K rate? I'm going to guess you get it right.
I'm going to go with the A's, Matt.
It is the A's at 28%.
Hey.
Yes, so every one in every four guys that is stepping in the batter's box is striking out for this Oakland Athletics, or I guess we should say Sacramento Athletics team. And so even though Kyle Hendricks is not a big K guy, that's why we're getting this plus money on such a small number, right? And so you do look through his game logs, and when he faces these teams with a lot of swing and miss, he's got a couple games of 5K. He's got a game of 6 strikeouts. Yeah, in some of these lower strikeout games, he's only got 2 or 3. But that's why we are getting the plus money here going up against this A's team, which I think at the 5Ks, we probably should be getting closer to even money here with Kyle Hendricks. So I will go ahead and play the alt number here at plus 128.
Yeah, this is an interesting game to handicap because if you look at the home road splits for both these pitchers, they're both drastically different. You got the Angels pitchers much better at home, Sears much better on the road. You know I love me some J.P. Sears. He was someone I bet on for a long time. I think it's been a 2-year running joke on our show Ready, Set, Bet that every time J.P. Sears pitches, I end up betting on them. I'm not going to be jumping in that athletic side today, though. This is a different version of Sears than we've seen the last couple of years. And you mentioned this A's team that we both thought was frisky originally. They're not frisky at all right now. They're not able to get those bats going. The offense has not been able to live up to what we saw earlier in the season. To me, I didn't want to play this game because I don't trust the home road and the day-night splits we're seeing from the Angels pitchers, but I don't hate your idea of trying to find a way to get some value here with Hendricks K's against an A's team that loves to strike out.
We also have another first pitch coming momentarily as well. Now, you are on this one coming in about, let's call it 7 minutes. Dodgers on the road at the Padres. They are minus 151 road favorites. The Padres plus 124 home dogs. 9.5 is our total. Ben Kasparius is going to go for the Dodgers. Randy Vasquez for the Padres. If you've been paying attention to Kasparius, a guy that's made a couple spot starts for this Dodgers team that gets moved back to the bullpen, he has been fantastic out of the pen for this team, Mike. There's a lot of people who've been calling for him to be a part of the rotation anyway. And then now with all the injuries that we're getting here from this Dodgers team, he is going to get his shot today against this Padres squad that is not hitting the ball very well of late.
No, they're not. And they've got Vasquez on the hill, who also is one of their worst pitchers when you look at the underlying numbers. Not great top-line stats, but underlying numbers even worse for him. And you mentioned Kasparius. He's been very good for this Dodgers team. We'll see how long he can go today. It's why I'm going to target the first 5 for the Dodgers here. I think there is an advantage on the mound for the Dodgers against the Padres. So let's look first 5 Dodgers. You can lay the half run and get minus 120 here with the Dodgers. So I'm going to focus on Vasquez for the Padres, who I do think is going to struggle today against a very good Dodgers lineup. And then a starting pitcher that's a little bit more of a wild card for the Dodgers. But all the underlying numbers support that he should be able to go 4 or 5 innings and keep this Padres team at bay. So let's take Dodgers minus a half run, first 5 at minus 120, Matt.
Yeah, Kasparius is a guy that I'm going to keep an eye on here in this start, mainly moving forward type situation. As you mentioned, how far are they going to let him go? How many pitches are they going to let him go? How many times to the lineup? All the different things like that we worry about with some of these guys. But man, when he has gotten his opportunity, he's been very, very good.
Yeah, he's been awesome. Awesome out of the pen. His longest appearance so far this year is 4 innings. He was very good in that appearance as well. So I'm interested to see how long he gets to actually pitch for. And if this is a long-term solution for a Dodgers team that's just been decimated in the rotation, maybe a long-term fantasy option for my team as well, which has also been decimated in the rotation. So someone I'm going to keep an eye on here for fantasy baseball purposes today, as well as with the bet on.
Day baseball going on out there, so games that have already started. The Braves are on the road at the Brewers. They're up 6-1 here in the bottom of the 8th. Schwellenbach with another great start here for this Braves team. 7 2/3 so far, only 4 hits allowed, 8 Ks, has not walked a single Brewer. Schwellenbach, a guy that I did have a long shot Cy Young ticket on, Mike, that I thought maybe earlier on in the year that he was just going to be really good, but not necessarily in the elite conversation. I don't know. I mean, I think it's not totally dead. I'll put it that way.
He'd have to have a heck of a back half of the season, but this is a huge outing for this Atlanta Braves team, which has just been on a free fall lately, 1-9 in their last 10 games. They needed someone to come out and to be able to get a win. Schellenbach coming out here and just shutting down this Brewers team, really helpful. The offense got going a little bit today as well, Matt. There's a Braves team that I still think is the second, maybe third most talented roster in the NL. They just have not been able to come close to put it all together. Strider's still struggling. We'll see if they can go on a run and kind of make up for not only that 0-7 start to the season, but now this little losing streak we're having mid-year as well, and make a push toward the playoffs.
Bottom of the 6th inning, Blue Jays on the road at the Cardinals. They are up 5-2 there in that one. This Blue Jays team, if you look, Mike, and you start to look at the last couple of weeks, I like to, when I go back, I look like 2-3 weeks, right? I mean, that's kind of the sample size that I want. Guys are coming up and down. There's injuries in the lineups, and plus we know baseball can be a little streaky, so I like to kind of keep that as our window whenever I'm gauging these teams. Toronto, over the last 2 weeks, the lowest K rate in all of baseball. Like, they've actually been putting the bat on the ball a ton, and if you go in and see, has that added up to anything? They also have the top weighted on base in all of baseball over the last 2 weeks as well. So they find themselves here with a lead over the Cardinals, in which the Cardinals went with Laboratory. If you remember, he left his last start because of fatigue. Didn't miss a start in his rotation here. He did end up going 5 innings and threw 90 pitches, though, but gave up 3 earned in those 5 innings.
Yeah, it's the Blue Jays team that's interesting to me. I mean, you've got talent in the lineup. You've got Bichette, you've got Guerrero. It's can you get everybody going at the same time? We've finally seen the Blue Jays bats start to produce. We've still got a couple starting pitchers for them. Francis is one of the main ones. It's been disappointing in the early half of the season. So this is another team where it feels like they have the ability to make a run. It's whether or not they can get that pitching to click at the same time their offense is able to get rolling. Good showing today against the Cardinals, right now up 5-2. They need to figure out how to create momentum because it's a tough division that they're in there. I like the Yankees. I like the Red Sox. Blue Jays are kind of bunched together at this point with the O's and the Rays. They need to find out how to win games fast if they want to make a run.
Mariners 1-0. That's just in the second inning there over the Diamondbacks. And that first pitch in the A's and Angels is rocking and rolling out there. So if you guys want to get involved live on that, just talked about that game. Oklahoma City and Indiana tonight. Mike, this is sitting 5.5 out there. You can find a 5 out here behind us and over at FanDuel. Everywhere else in the market is sitting 5.5. 227 to 227.5 is our total.
Yeah, I played OKC -5 yesterday. We were pretty much 5.5 across the board earlier this morning. We're seeing some Indiana money come back into the market to push it down back to 5. I like OKC -5 quite a bit, Matt. I go back and I watched that first game. It didn't really ever feel like the Pacers were actually in it until they make this miraculous run in the fourth quarter. You watch the second game, OKC again controlled that entire game. You look at the Indiana offense specifically, it just is so hard for them to be able to produce against this Oklahoma City defense, which is just absolutely smothering. We saw the turnovers in game 1. That turnover number went down drastically in game 2. But at the same time, you still just didn't have the offensive efficiency from the Pacers that you need for them to be able to compete with this OKC team. We saw guys like Holmgren have a better game, too, from a role player perspective. Now, you do assume you're going to see a better game from a role player perspective here from Indianapolis once they get back home. But these Pacers are just they're kind of middling to me. And you look at what OKC has done all season, my numbers say this should be closer to 7. So I'm willing to lay the 5 here with Oklahoma City. I laid the game and a half in the series as well, -150. I think they close this out in 5 or 6 still.
Talked about the Follow the Money crew being up in Omaha. Also, Money Moves crew up there as well. So that will start tomorrow morning. Whenever you get going, we're going to have the Jello shots, I'm sure, will be going nice and early up there in Omaha. So be sure and tune in for that. We're going to talk a ton of U.S. Open here. Mike made a model. We're going to see what his model had to say and some bets in my account as well. But we'll be joined by Brad Thomas when we come back. Let's talk some NBA and some Stanley Cup Finals.
Derek, what's the guarantee? Derek?
Mike, time to make history. Players in Circa Million make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries choose one team each week with no point spread. The last one standing wins it all.
We have $21 million on the line. Are you in? Visit circasports.com for details.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole 9, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's Late Night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
On the next A Numbers Game, it is Thursday. You know what that means. Zach and Crack, unscripted with the Crackman, Bill Krackenberger. Anything on his mind, we will discuss unscripted. Plus, Zach Cohen on tennis. We're in grass season. How his French Open went as well, and his thoughts on the NBA. Game 3 gone by, Game 4 moving forward, and exclusive Stormy Bonatoni, Jonathan Von Tobel live from Omaha in the College World Series. It's A Numbers Game, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, right here at VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It is Follow the Money here on VSiN Channel 158 over on Sirius. Matt Brown and Mike Somich in for Mitch and Paul, who are on their way up to Omaha as we'll be doing live programming from up there at the College World Series. So if you happen to be in Omaha, you want to stop by, get a picture, some autographs, some fist bumps, all the different thing like that. 2 different shows up there, Money Moves as well as Follow the Money. So go in, take advantage of all that. I'm sure Derek Stevens will be around, and he tends to be generous, Mike. So go ahead and, give him a high five. There might be some Jello shots headed your way.
That's a good point. I wonder who Derek Stevens is putting those Jello shots on the board for, because that's a man that could flip the odds right there.
You know what? We didn't ask before he took off. This might be a question that needs to be asked of him tomorrow at some point as to when the purchases are made, who gets the tally up on the chalkboard.
Exactly. He could put up a number, Matt. He could close that gap.
I'm thinking maybe it's going to be dealer's choice, right? Whoever actually is the recipient gets to put the tally up there on the board. But we shall see. A question that will be asked tomorrow, I promise you. Now joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Brad Thomas. You can find his great work over at NBC Sports Bet at Mr. Brad Thomas over on the Twitter machine as well. Brad, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, listen, it's major week. We have the U.S. Open starting tomorrow, so I'm super stoked.
Are you do you also do the golf betting as well?
I do golf, soccer, football, UFC, you name it.
You get it all going. Well, you know what? We were going to talk to you about NBA and everything, but maybe we'll get to golf as well in all of this. We might as well, but let's go ahead and talk to NBA Finals tonight, game number 3. Did you learn anything? Do you feel you learned anything through the first 2 games?
I felt like I learned that the Oklahoma City Thunder just needed some maturity, needed some leadership, needed to have that killer instinct. Like in game 1, we already knew that the Pacers were a really good, talented team that were often underrated, but you cannot lose a game where you are creating 25 turnovers up by double digits late in the game. They just lacked that killer instinct in game 1. Game 2 turned around. They cleaned it up about halfway through that game and just started to roll, and they closed the Pacers out. It's not going to be such an easy game, playing on the road in the NBA Finals, but I think the Thunder are in a really good position.
Yeah, I went back and I rewatched game 1, and I still have no clue how the Thunder lost that basketball game. It felt like they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit in the fourth quarter. The Pacers obviously able to make that just ridiculous run down toward the end of the game. Halliburton hits a miracle shot, and all of a sudden it's 1-0 Pacers. You watch game 2, that felt like more of what I expected from this entire series, that the Thunder make 1 or 2 of these runs and the Pacers just not able to respond. But now we're headed back to Indianapolis. The Pacers get to play at home. We get to see what these role players can do. What role players do you trust more here in game 3? We saw OKC step up in game 2. Do you think the Pacers role players able to get it back on track here at home and give them a chance to either steal the game or cover the 5?
Yeah, I think I trust the Pacers role players more. Role players shoot better at home than they do away from home. And the Pacers are really deep too. I think that helps a ton. Like OKC is a really good and really deep team, but they're so top heavy that their top can carry them when their bottom's not doing as well. I don't think the Pacers have that ability, right? Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton just can't carry them to victory. They're not going to put up 30-plus points regularly and kind of mask any inefficiencies from the bench. But I think so. It has to be the Pacers bench units and role players that step up in this game.
Talking to Brad Thomas, find his work over on NBC Sports. We see SGA with a 33.5 point prop tonight, Brad. I mean, he continues to do it. I mean, just an absolutely fantastic scorer. But like as bettors, we see a number like 33.5, and it's just like the draw to play an under, just blanket across the board is there for us. What do you see here in a 33.5 number for SGA?
There's a lot of outs for a 33.5 to take an under, right? Like, yeah. I think people get so excited to take these big name players and take overs, but foul trouble, poor shooting, or even a blowout, you can get the under on SGA. If I remember correctly, his number was 34.5 ahead of game 2. So if you played that over, you lost, because even though he took 21 shots, he still did not cover the 35 that you needed.
Yeah, with Shea especially too, he needs to get to the free throw line. And now you're in Indianapolis. Are you going to get those same calls that you were getting at home? Are you going to get the 12 to 15 free throw volume that you need to be able to push toward that 35 number? So tonight, Thunder -5, total sitting at 227. Any plays for you here?
I took a little action on Pascal Siakam. The number did move. I took him at over 18.5 points. It moved up to 19.5. There was a lot of buy on it. I'm okay at 19.5, not love it. But Pascal Siakam has to be an efficient scorer in this game. He has to have a big impact if they don't want to get ran out of their own building, right? He had 15 points, but only made about 2 field goals in that last game. Tyrese Halliburton's a little bit banged up. So I don't think Tyrese Halliburton's going to carry the scoring load for this team. He has to have a big game, or you might as well just take his under and take the Thunder minus 9.5. That'll probably be a nice, good plus odds payment for you.
Brad, are we looking at anything in the Stanley Cup Finals tomorrow?
Yeah, I took a cheat code, Mr. Sam Bennett, to score a point. He's done it in every game in the Stanley Cup Finals so far. He has 20 points in 20 games. He leads the Panthers in goals. Like the Panthers are playing the Oilers so physically imposing, where I feel like it's not going to be like that Carolina series where there's one game where the Panthers just didn't score. I think they're going to score in every single game, and Sam Bennett he's just too scorching hot for the line to be like minus 125.
As someone who's got the Sam Bennett 30-1 Conn Smythe ticket, I love that bet. I hope that you cash it every day, all day, and maybe it goes to over 3.5 points, whatever we can do to get there. There's a prop out there, Sam Bennett with at least 2 shots on goal in every game of the Stanley Cup Finals at plus 100. I love that one as well because he is just firing the puck as his confidence has been going up. So it's another good way to take some Sam Bennett action since he's down to plus 140 in the Conn Smythe. Probably a little too short to attack that. Now, you mentioned the Panthers' physicality. I thought the storyline of Game 3 was the Panthers' ability to get inside the Oilers' heads from a mental perspective. We saw them take so many cheap penalties after the whistle. It was Marchand, it was Bennett, just kind of elbowing people on the way to the bench, and the Oilers reacting to it. How did the Oilers improve mentally into Game 4? Because I think that's a bigger issue for them than the talent on the ice.
I just felt from, even stepping into the plantation area in Florida, the Oilers were in trouble because it just wasn't just the Panthers. It was the Panthers fans. It was the crowd. It was the arena. There was a lot that they had to overcome. I think the Oilers, how they changed this around, they realized that it is just one game, the first home game. They steal the second. A road game. They steal that second road game. They're right back in it. But what I really didn't like about the Oilers, you're not going to out physical this Panthers team, and you're not going to beat them inside. You have, when you're across that blue line, you have to have someone wide. You just cannot be so narrow on your attacks. I don't know how many times we saw that, and it was just a turnover, bad turnover after bad turnover. And you talked about the penalties. Kane, it has to be I'm struggling for the word. Like he has to set the tone, a tone setter, and it can't be with taking bad penalties because you're the guy who they need to match the physicality of the Panthers. And if you're taking bad penalties and you're in the box and you're not on the ice, it does no good for your team. So I think they have to clean that up and just come out and just be more crisp, less turnovers. And they need Draisaitl. Draisaitl was pretty much a ghost in that entire match.
Brad, as we look ahead here to Saturday, I mean, since you said you're handicapping MMA as it is anyway. Any thoughts on Usman and Buckley? I mean, Buckley all the way out to minus 278 now at DraftKings, nearly a 3-1 favorite over Usman.
Yeah, I think Buckley wins, right? He's hungry, he's younger, he's ready for this title fight. But honestly, if you're a sports bettor, why would you lay the minus 275 on Buckley when Usman's had some time off? He's a champion, he's a proven fighter. I think that number might be too large. Am I going to do it? No, because I'm actually actively rooting for Buckley, right? The younger fighter, the guy who has more of a future in a title run than Usman, because he's not going to go and do it again. And time again, we've seen these old champions come back to fight. It literally just happened with Izzy, and they get clocked. They get clocked as big underdogs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Buckley goes out there and gives it to him, but I just can't get down with his price.
Before I let you go, what is the best financial outcome for you for the U.S. Open? Who wins it, and what is the best financial thing for you?
Best financial outcome for me was Ludwig Oberg to win it all because I have him to win, and I have him without the big four, and it would just make me feel so great because I've been monitoring him. I think that I'm early on him instead of being late and trying to chase his number.
He is Brad Thomas. Find him over at NBC Sports Bet at Mr. Brad Thomas on the Twitter machine. Brad, appreciate the time and appreciate all the insight.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Guys, as we mentioned, Follow the Money is on the road, so live Thursday and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern from up there in Omaha. A special Saturday edition, I should have mentioned, before me and Mike actually take over there at 10 a.m. as well. So all happening from Rocco's, Jell-O Shot capital of the world. College World Series coverage, best bets, everything coming from up there. VSiN.com/CWS for all the details and a free College World Series betting guide, so be sure and take advantage of that. And speaking of the College World Series, when we come back, some thoughts here on all the teams, any of the betting angles, and if Mike decided to run a model for this too. Is there anything in his account for the College World Series? It is a special edition of Follow the Money here.
You can get an entire year of VSiN Pro for just $1.99. Plus, we'll throw in a free pre-order of VSiN's own Josh Applebaum's new book, The NFL Sharp Betting Playbook. That's 12 months of expert picks, exclusive betting splits, and access to the upcoming NFL betting guide. Applebaum's new book is the ultimate resource for bettors looking to understand line movement, spot sharp action, and make smarter, data-driven decisions all season long. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe and use promo code BOOK to get in on this offer and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It is Follow the Money here on VSiN. Matt Brown and Mike Somich in for Mitch and Paul. Thanks for being here with us on Channel 158 over on Sirius, our very own VSiN Watch app, YouTube TV, and terrestrial stations across this great country of ours as we get ready for the College World Series in earnest here at the network. If you want to go over to the website, vsin.com/CWS, you can take in all of the content over there that we are doing for the College World Series. Mike, we talked a little bit about this over the weekend on our show, which is you really, really got to follow college baseball if you want to really be in the know. It's not as easy to view the different games. You really need to go in and find the different stuff and really dig into the different stats. But this time of year, certainly super fun. You get to the super regionals where we've pared down the teams. It is easier to dig into all of that. And now that we're down to 8, you really can look at these teams as a whole and try to formulate some sort of opinion.
Yeah, you can. I think the bracket aspect of this is very interesting as well. They're split into 2 segments of 4, playing double elimination in both of those segments. And you allow yourself to be able to say, okay, well, who do I think can get out of these top and bottom brackets? And this year's unique. You see LSU versus Arkansas down there on the bottom of the sheet there, and that's going to be your 2 favorites in this event. So you have the 2 favorites facing each other in round 1. They have to face each other again and get through each other. So they cannot end up meeting in the finals. Only one can advance on, which means you could take some shots in the other bracket if you want to take the chance, Matt.
Yeah, and I'm glad you go ahead and point that out. So we're looking at, for the radio audience out there, Arkansas, LSU, Oregon State, Coastal Carolina, UCLA, Louisville, Arizona, and Murray State are your 8 teams that are in Omaha. That's 2 SEC teams and 1 each from the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Sun Belt, Missouri Valley, and then you have 1 independent in there as well. Murray State's first trip to the College World Series ever, actually. And from a format perspective, I'm glad you pointed that out. It is a bracket. It is a double elimination as well. And then when we get to the finals, best 2 out of 3. So they do play a little mini series there whenever we get to the final 2 teams as the best 2 out of 3. Now, the stadium up there in Omaha is not like the stadium of old in Omaha, Mike. When you and I were up there, it was a little bit different of an environment. And now it played a stadium that really does suppress runs. And so if you've been watching college baseball and if you've been watching some of these games in the regionals or in the super regionals, and then you're going to assume that we're going to get something that looks anywhere close to that, it's not really the case. And it's for multiple different reasons. One, the cream has risen to the top here more by and large. And so you're going to get teams with better pitching and teams with better fielding. And then also, Mike, just the stadium in general is really pitcher friendly. What we see here last year, teams averaged just a tad over like 5.1 runs per game. And so it's just not indicative of what we see in the typical college baseball season. Runs are suppressed up there in Omaha.
Yeah, they are. Rosenblatt used to be a very hitter-friendly ballpark. It's shifted more over toward a pitcher-friendly ballpark. You mentioned the process of qualifying, also pretty strenuous. You need to have multiple starting pitchers to be able to get to this point. And when you have now days of rest in between these games, you're able to just really use your 1 and 2 starting pitchers throughout this tournament. It means you're facing more power arms, more top-heavy arms. You're taking your 3rd, 4th starters. They're moving into the bullpen. They can eat innings for you as well. And it does create some more of the press totals here inside of this newer Rosenblatt Stadium.
So you start to look at just to win the whole thing. You mentioned the top 2 teams are actually squaring off there to start things off. Arkansas at plus 195. These are courtesy of DraftKings, by the way. LSU at plus 230. Coastal Carolina is 6-1. I'm sure that's going to be a shocker to a lot of people out there that Coastal Carolina is sitting 6-1. They're actually coming into this riding a 23-game win streak. It is their first trip to Omaha since 2016. But if you go back and look at 2016, they actually did a Cinderella run and ran the table there, Mike, and won the whole thing back in 2016. They pitched extremely well, and during this stretch, it also helps whenever you're pitching well and you're averaging, in the postseason over 8 runs a game, and for the whole season 7.5 runs per game for the whole season here for this Coastal Carolina team. Now the question really does come down to whether they can handle elite pitching. If you look at their strength of schedule comparatively to the rest of these teams that are in the College World Series, it doesn't add up to everybody else, but that doesn't mean that they can't. It just, you can only play the teams in front of you, right? I mean, that's just, we talk about this a lot in college football and everything. You can only play the teams in front of you. The teams they were playing just didn't really have elite arms over the course of the season. So we shall see whether they can handle some of these guys that are coming at you at 96, 97, which you're going to see from some of these schools.
I don't really care like who you played. If you have a 20-plus game win streak in baseball, that's pretty darn impressive, even if it is not against consistent power arms, because baseball is a high-variance sport. So to be able to consistently come out on top that often is awesome, especially going through the regionals and being able to do that as well. And you mentioned you only play who's in front of you. To their benefit, it's not going to be LSU or Arkansas that's in front of them until they get to that final series. To me, the two most enticing teams to bet to win it all here are Coastal Carolina at 6-1. And the team they're playing in the first round, Arizona, sitting there on the board at 14-1. They knocked off UNC in the Super Regionals, able to win in 3 games against a very good Tar Heels team. To me, those are the two that I'm interested in because I feel like they are able to get out of that top half of the bracket. And even if they do get out of it and you're sitting there, you could hedge out in the finals if you are facing Arkansas or LSU and still have some free money riding on either of those two teams. I like Arizona a little more simply because I like 14-1 more than 6-1. Yeah. But I do think those are the best two teams in the top half of the bracket and the two teams I'd be most interested betting to win it all because of the price attached to it and the route that they have to get to that point.
Yeah, Arizona, they rely pretty heavily on their bullpen, but their bullpen is elite. If you go in and look at their top 4 guys and the arms that are coming out of the pen, they've been just absolutely lights out all season long. I guess the only question here, because of the format that we're heading into, Mike, is will that work over the course of the entire tournament? Because will they become too taxed when we're playing all these games squished into a short time frame?
Well, the nice part is so they open up on Friday against Coastal. They would play if they win on Sunday. If they win or lose, they play on Sunday. If they're able to win, then they have another 3 days off. So you're looking at 3 games essentially spread out over a 6-7 day period. That allows you to be able to reuse those bullpen arms. I think that might actually be an advantage for Arizona if they can get out of the winner's game and move along in that winner's bracket. They've got an opportunity to be able to really set up those bullpen arms to be able to come out in every one of those early round games. Now, when you get into the best out of 3, it becomes a little bit harder, but getting to that final series, I think is a good setup for the Arizona bullpen if they are able to win this first game. To me, that's really where the key is here because you don't want to lose this first game and then have to stress those arms 4 times in the next 6 days, right? It's figuring out how do we come out of this first game with a win against Coastal. If that happens, all of a sudden I like the Arizona path. It's why, it's 6-1 and 14-1. Those are the two teams I want to target because I think whoever wins that game has the cleanest path to get through to the finals against either Arkansas or LSU if they do come out of the bottom half of the bracket.
I'll put it this way. Arizona, if it's like, okay, if we want some longer shot just to feel good and something to root for here, I'd much rather be on Arizona at 14 than I would on Louisville at 17 or Murray at 15. I mean, Murray State's a great story.
Yes.
It's probably not going to hold up here. In Louisville, starting pitching just not very good for them. I mean, they figured it out in the postseason, but typically your full season is going to be more indicative of what we get in the postseason. So, they did good for a very short, small sample size here, Mike. But if you look at Louisville, I mean, those stats on their starters, it's pretty bad, and so I can't go there. So I'd much rather be on the team that I know has 4 lights-out guys coming out of the bullpen. So even if the starter isn't necessarily sharp, then they can at least limit the damage, and then maybe Arizona can come back hitting the ball. So, again, if we're looking at a longer shot, I'd much rather Arizona than Louisville or Murray.
Yeah, Murray got the worst of it here. Let's just be honest. They have to take on UCLA in the first round and their opening game. That's going to be a tough game for them. And then if they lose that game, they have to face the loser of Arkansas LSU in an elimination game. So Murray State's path is just absolutely brutal. The path for Oregon State might be a positive one. They get Louisville in the first game. If they're able to win that, they face the winner of Coastal Carolina, Arizona, who we already talked about. So to me, I'm never betting anyone on the bottom half unless I'm betting Arkansas or LSU after they lose the first game. I have some interest if we see the odds float up. Let's say LSU loses that opening game and goes up to 8, 9, 10-1. Then you can sign me up for an LSU ticket. Same for Arkansas. I'd rather just take the loser at a significantly higher number, especially since I think they coast past Murray, and you probably then face UCLA for the opportunity to then face the other again. To me, that works out a lot better than trying to play either of the short shots here right out the bat.
We did not talk beforehand about this, and that is exactly what I was going to say. If I'm looking at any sort of futures bet, I'm going to take the loser of that game because they can easily still run it back and get it done. Guys, if you are not yet a VSiN Pro subscriber, running a special for you, $199 for an entire year. And not only do you get every single thing that we do, which is the best bets, the splits, you get the video feeds, you get all the betting guides. But if you use the promo code BOOK, you're actually going to get a pre-order of Josh Applebaum's book, NFL Sharp Betting Playbook. So again, VSiN.com/subscribe, $199 for every single thing that we do for the entire year, and NFL Sharp Betting Playbook by Josh Applebaum included in that price. 5-2 still in the bottom of the 8th. Jays over the Cardinals there. So the Jays continue their hot hitting ways here. We did go final in several games already today, Mike. Pirates get it done 5-2 at home over the Marlins. Phillies 7-2 over the Cubs. Guardians all over the Reds 11-2 there in that one. And then that did go final, the Braves and the Brewers. Schwellenbach goes complete game there for the Braves. 6-2 victors on the road at the Brewers. Like you said, still a lot of work to be done there for this Braves team, but it does seem like the talent is there for them. When we come back, our first of many different looks at the U.S. Open, a course overview. What's that weather going to look like, and what stats do we find important from a modeling standpoint?
What's the guarantee? Eric?
Mike, time to make history. Players in Circa Million make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries choose one team each week with no point spread. The last one standing wins it all.
We have $21 million on the line. Are you in? Visit circasports.com for details.
Your favorite VSiN shows and personalities are now available to download as podcasts. Catch every hour of our live broadcast with VSiN Best Bets, or find your go-to show and download it directly. Get instant reactions to last night's games, sharp analysis on today's biggest matchups, and everything in between. Whether you're commuting, working out, or just catching up, VSiN lets you take the action with you wherever and whenever you want. Search VSiN on your favorite podcast platform and get in on the action with VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Matt Brown and Mike Somich in for Mitch and Paul. Do not worry, back on the network again tomorrow. Coming to you live from Omaha up there as the network heads on the road and takes in the College World Series. Mike, also starting tomorrow is the U.S. Open. And everybody's already heard, if you've been paying attention at all, what the conditions are expected to be for this tournament. Oakmont is supposed to play incredibly tough for these guys. And how tough will it actually end up being? We're not sure. We don't know. But what we do know is the score is certainly not going to be any sort of birdie fest or anything like that. I mean, that's definitely what we know. It's a long course. It's nearly 7,400 yards. It's a par 70, so you're only getting the 2 par 5s to score on as it is anyway. There's 168 bunkers. 168 bunkers on the course. About half of them, which are basically a penalty stroke, because you might have to play out sideways or backwards or all of the different things like that. And so, as you look at this course, it's probably somewhere between the absolute doom and gloom of what we've heard from some of the reports, and then some of the people who are like, these are pros or the best golfers, they'll figure it out. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere in the middle. You buried a couple of the leads there, Matt. There are 2 par 5s. Both are 600-plus yards. There's a par 3 that played 300 yards last time they played at Oakmont here. The rough, 5 inches. The step meters between 14 and 15, so greens incredibly fast as well. And the bunkers that you mentioned, not a drop of water. One of the few courses you're going to see a PGA tournament with 0 water hazards. But those bunkers are de facto water hazards in a lot of cases. They've got this kind of tier of grass right in front of the bunker where if you are anywhere near that, you're playing backwards. You're playing sideways because you're not going to be able to go over, especially in those fairway bunkers where you're 150, 160, 170 yards out. Good luck trying to move the ball forward toward the green. You're in a situation where it's just get out and then hit the next shot and hope that you can hold the green at that point. Also, the fairways, this is ridiculous. The average width of the fairways, 28 yards. To put that in perspective, a football field is 56 yards wide. Half of a football field wide is your average width for these fairways as well. So incredibly hard to hit the fairway, very hard to hold the green, and these bunkers are going to be treacherous. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I love bad golf. I love tough golf. I like seeing these guys look human. We saw a winner at this course at +5 a couple times ago when they played. The other 2 winners here, -5 and -4. So very, very difficult, fun course that we're going to see this week, Matt.
Yeah, you mentioned the no water danger, except they do have ditches that are out there that last time we saw this in 2016, they had kind of cleared out the ditches and they were allowing them to kind of play out of them pretty easily, and they decided not to do that this year, so they let the ditches grow up. So if you end up down in a ditch, you're probably playing out of like this 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch wispy stuff that they're growing out of there. So it's going to play terribly. As you said, the impossibly thick rough. And the other thing that is interesting about this course, there's no first cut. So while we just go straight from fairway to 5-inch rough, like typically there is a first cut. You can miss the fairway, and it's like, yeah, you're in the rough, but it's like not incredibly penal. Not the case here. No first cut. You miss by a foot or you miss by 20 feet. You're in the stuff there. And so they also said they're not going to cut it again, Mike, after Thursday, which means if we do get any weather, this could get wet, this rough. It could grow a little bit more, this rough. So these are other things to keep in mind here from a weather perspective, and that is something we need to talk about. This is from the National Weather Service. So Thursday, they're saying, okay, going to be fine. Conditions will be fine on Thursday. So we should see hard and fast and crazy difficult. But Friday, temperatures are going to come back down, cold front coming into town, and it's going to eventually stall. Forecast models are at odds over how much moisture it will contain on Friday. For now, there's a low chance of a hit or miss afternoon shower or thunderstorms. But then Saturday and Sunday, it gets pretty dicey. Surging moisture out of the west-southwest combined with a front lingering nearby will increase the risk of showers and storms, particularly in the afternoon hours. Localized heavy rain and lightning are both possibilities which could interrupt play. And it says that Sunday, the final round, has similar forecast to Saturday and hinges on whether the stalled front and how it sets up. But there is at least a little bit greater than a 50% chance of rain there on Sunday as well. So that is something we will have to handicap as we head into the weekend.
It will. And if you think that's going to allow these golfers to have a better chance to hold the greens, You're wrong. There's an aeration system here at Oakmont as well, which keeps these greens very fast, even if there is water and precipitation that hits the course. So I would expect you're still going to have, they'll slow down a little bit, Matt, but these greens, which are also massive, by the way, so you bring in 3 putts into play here over this course, they're not going to be, you're not going to be able to pin seek if you get some water there. You're not going to be able to throw darts and be able to pull the ball back. Still going to be very fast greens, even if we do get some rain.
Yeah, I think the only thing the rain might do is make it a little bit easier to hold the fairways, which could help out some of the guys, because then it won't roll through the fairways, because you're going to get a lot more of these things sticking and not rolling as much or whatever. So, again, something we'll handicap when we get there. We can't say for sure, and that's literally straight from the National Weather Service, and they're like, we don't really know. Conflicting models right now, so we don't know what's going on. If we look at this odds board, Scotty Scheffler is sitting at plus 275. It goes to Bryson DeChambeau at 750, then to John Rahm and Rory McIlroy at 12. Xander then jumps all the way out to 22. Colin Morikawa at 25, and then everybody else is 30 or longer. And, Mike, you look at this, and you see Scotty at 275. He's the best golfer in the world. He's playing the best golf in the world. That said, from a betting standpoint, in my opinion, unplayable at 275, and mainly from the fact that unless he goes out and gets, which is very unlikely given the scoring conditions, unless he goes out and gets a 5-stroke lead after the first round, which, again, very unlikely to happen, you're going to get similar prices into the weekend anyway. So give me a round or two sample size before I have to bet the plus 275. Like, let me see where he's at after 18. Let me see where he's at after 36. Could it possibly creep up and get a little bit better number because he's 3 strokes off the lead or whatever it might be? I just don't think you can bet him at 275.
Yeah, it seems a little aggressive. It seems a little aggressive considering what the conditions that we're going to face here at Oakmont, because unlike other tournaments, I think luck is going to be very important here as well. Specific bounce. You're just going to get some bad breaks on this course. And if it happens to be multiple bad breaks for Scotty at the wrong time, it's going to be difficult to be able to accrue such a win share. I mean, plus 275, he's got to win this tournament 28% of the time for you to be profitable. That is not an easy thing to do against this field. You've got the top 4 taking up almost a 60% win share in the betting odds. I do think the winner most likely comes from those top 4, but it's hard for me to get behind Scotty when you're looking at that high of a success rate. There's some markets out there, leader after round 1 and win the tournament, leader after round 2 and win the tournament. You can get a much better price on Scotty, obviously, because it's a parlay. But that would be the route I would take versus taking the plus 275. I would look for some type of, even Scotty to win round 1, 12-1. I'd rather play something like that than try and play something over or that short of a price on Scotty right out of the gate. And obviously looking at him in live markets makes sense as well once we get this thing rolling.
Yeah, that's my play on Scotty. Is just going to be waiting until we get going in the tournament and seeing if we can get something live in on him. As far as stats that we put in this week and stats that matter, there's varying opinions out there, Mike, as to how much distance matters to people. There are some people who say, like, yeah, I think distance is going to play a big factor. There's a lot of people who are like, nah, I'm just into accuracy. I just want the dudes in the fairways. I don't want to be dealing with this rough and it's unpredictable. And could it be sticky? Could it be wet? Could it get longer than it is? Whatever. I tended to go a little bit more towards the accuracy route than the distance route. I'm curious because you said you built a model, what you decided to do.
I went the other direction. I went toward distance instead of accuracy. I feel like specifically over this course, and because these fairways are so tiny, if you miss with, your 3-wood, with your 4-iron, and you're 170 out from the rough versus someone who hits driver and they're 110, 100 out from the rough, I'd much rather be in that 100-yard position. If you look at the past 10 U.S. Open winners, they average 6th in driving distance in the PGA Tour. If you look past winners at this event, the number 1 and number 2 driving distance, the last 2 winners inside that specific event at Oakmont. I think distance actually more important than accuracy this week, because I just don't think anyone's going to be overly accurate. You have to be perfect if you're an accuracy player. From a distance perspective, I think it does give you opportunities to score and to scramble a little bit better as well. We haven't talked about how difficult it is being around these greens too. Last time that we played at Oakmont, 10 of the 18 holes had a 40% or lower scramble success rate around the green, which meant going up and down near impossible on the majority of the holes here at Oakmont. I think that also plays toward players that are just simply closer and hitting smaller irons and smaller wedges into these greens versus someone who, yeah, maybe you're in the fairway, but you're 180 out trying to get onto these greens that are lightning fast.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of why I actually would rather a guy be playing out of the fairway than in the rough, because if you're not going to be holding the greens anyway, then you're certainly never holding them out of the rough. Like, it's just never happening, and certainly not out of this rough. And so, I mean, you can hold the greens from the fairway. Even, I mean, these pros can do it from 170, from 180, from 180, you know, and things like that. And so, like, I think you're putting yourself at a very, very, very huge disadvantage if you're playing out of the rough and this stuff. And I think depending on how deep this goes and how weird the angles become and all of that, it could end up being a penalty stroke for some of these guys. So yeah, for me, we'll talk. We have more to talk about here, of course, with all of this and trying to figure out what we think is going to be the winning. We got bets as well, Mike. We got bets that we got to talk about and getting those into the count. More NBA Finals when we come back.
Introducing the $500 trifecta. Use your GBank Visa signature credit card within 3